Today's fable is called Tapping Season.
Master was always at least somewhat cryptic, and sometimes he made no sense at all. This was one of those times. Master paused in ransacking his tool chest. "Have you seen my spile?" I blinked. Spile. Master glared at me and sighed. "Sometimes I forget how little you know. The sap is running today. Just today, mind you. If we're going to make any syrup, we've got to get a move on." I didn't understand Master's sudden fixation on syrup, yet in my apprenticeship I'd learned to simply keep my head down, listen, do as instructed, and eventually it, whatever it might be, would make sense most of the time. Master finally located the aforementioned spile. "Get that brace and bit from the tool chest and the bucket from the well and let's go." Master was gracious enough to carry the spile himself. We walked for some time to a place in Needonwood I'd never been before, and would be just as happy to never go again. All of Needonwood was dangerous. This part was also spooky. The trees had not yet budded, and all the tree limbs looked like grasping fingers. I could identify most trees of the wood. I'd never seen the like of these. Is the spile for these trees? Of course not. They're too young. It only works with the oldest. It was clearly time for fewer questions and more paying attention. We soon arrived at the grandest tree, by which I mean most ancient, gnarled, and most likely in the habit of roaming at night. Master showed me how to make the hole properly and tap the spile into place with a handy fallen limb. Once the bucket was placed, we settled down to wait. A northerly wind rattled the remaining dead leaves, and as my mind wandered, I listened. Ever since the south wind bestowed her kiss on me, I had understood the language of the wind. It sounds very esoteric and all, but most of the time it's only gossip, random observations, and the joys of being wind. Sometimes useful and always handy to know a gale is coming, but most of the time, not so much. And so it took a moment for me to realize the wind was talking about me. "I'll never understand why Master thinks that's necessary," it said. "Lad would be better off without it." "What's necessary?" I asked, but the wind had already moved on, and Master pretended he didn't hear me. He just checked the bucket of sap and handed it to me before removing the spile. He then very politely thanked the tree. "The syrup will allow you to understand the language of trees," he said on the way home. "I took it myself when I was your age." I thought of the wind. "Is it necessary?" "It's a choice," he said. "I made mine, and you must make yours. But I will warn you, it's bitter." Knowledge was often bitter, I'd discovered, but was it always necessary? At least that was for me to decide.